Shadows fall, dimming the light. Whispers grow, a rising tide. Vindicator, where do you hide? Fear is over, heart ablaze. Through smoky haze, he sets his gaze. Justice calls a burning need. A city's wounds he vows to heed. From cobbled streets to tower high, Vindicator takes to the sky. Strikes back with iron hands, defender of this promised land. Breaks the chain, sets spirits free. Vindicator for all to see. Seek high! Seek high! Seek high! Whispers turn to thunderous roar.
Right, time to launch you into orbit. Wait!
Slams the door on
There we go.
tyranny's cruel, grasping hand. He fights for freedom, takes a stand with courage born of darkest night. He ignites hope, a guiding light. Strikes back with iron hands, defender of this promised land. Breaks the chain, sets spirits free. Vindicator for all to see. Though battles rage and darkness reigns, hope's ember burns within his veins. He'll never yield, he'll never fall. He answers freedom's clarion call. Strikes back with iron hands, defender of this promised land. Breaks the chain, sets spirits free. Vindicator for all to see. A symbol etched against the moon. Vindicator rising soon.
Hello everybody, how you all doing? Hey chat, how you all doing? Hey Craig, hi everybody. Right, let's get into this. Right, so first off, some housekeeping, because there's some things that people out there just don't seem to understand. Now, maybe it's because they're boomers and they don't really understand how the internet works, but I'll kind of give them a pass for that, right? So I need to explain a few things to them. So the first thing I'm going to explain to them is free speech. So the idea is, right, especially on the internet, if you put your opinion out on the internet, right, in a public forum, then that means it's open to criticism. That's what free speech is. If you make a point or have an argument that's complete and utter rubbish, then it's going to be criticized. Now, to label the people that are criticizing you, they will come with legitimate arguments. They're not just name calling you or anything like that. I mean, you might say that they're being nasty towards you. Well, that's just tough shit. That's just the nature of free speech. If you say something dumb on the internet, then people will criticize it. It's as simple as that. I've had it done to me. I'm sure countless others have had it done to them as well. That's the nature of free speech. So when you go out there and you criticize other people, that's you using your free speech. So when I come and criticize you, that's me exercising my free speech. It's not being nasty. It's not being horrible. It's just a fact of life. And really, if you can't accept that, then in my opinion, you shouldn't be on social media. That's just my honest opinion. Now, another thing is fair use. So when you put a video out on the internet, so long as it's fair use, so long as it's transformative, people can take your video and critique it, believe it or not. They can't just take your video and put it up on their channel without any alterations. They can't do that. But if they're stopping and starting it and addressing your points within the video, that's called fair use. Maybe you should get a dummy's guide to the internet to explain the terms and the nature of things on the internet, or indeed in life, because it seems like you've lived in a little bubble all your life and you've never been criticized before. And you're of the opinion that other people don't have a right to criticize you because you're a bigger channel. Doesn't work like that, buddy. Doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that at all. Just wanted to clear that up. Yeah? Just wanted to clear that up. If you want to bitch, moan, and complain that people are criticizing you, then don't say stupid shit on the internet. Okay? All right, Cupcake? Okay, glad we got that clear. Right. So, hi everybody, hi chat, how you all doing? Right. So the first things first, I'm not going to keep repeating myself on certain videos that I've done. So I'm sure you're all aware of the video that I made yesterday and stuff like that, and the live stream that I did. I'm sure you're all caught up on that. I don't need to keep going over and repeat myself with regard to that. There are some things that I need to show first. So Rupert Lowe's been getting a lot of flack from advanced UK supporters and members saying that it's his fault. He should have acknowledged Ben Habib with his offer for a merger. Now, to put the record straight, Ben Habib came out and stated he wanted a merger without even talking to Rupert Lowe about it. So there was no merger in the first place. This was all down to Ben Habib. So there was no merger. Rupert Lowe agreed to no merger. But we need to play this video. I've already put it on the channel. It's in the form of a short. So if you want to go and watch that, you can do. But I'm going to play it here just to set the record straight, so everybody understands where we are in the timeline of events. So I'm going to do it. I'm just going to play it in its entirety. This is Rupert Lowe talking about the merger with Advanced. So he was on the Dan Wootton show. Go and subscribe, whatever. I'll do that. Repost it. There we go. Right. So this is Rupert Lowe speaking about the Advanced merger, and he gives his reasons why he doesn't necessarily want a merger. And this was a few weeks ago. And don't forget, recently we've had Ben Habib saying he's had no response to this. But there may be a reason for that. But we'll get to that in a bit.
What's really going on between Restore and Advance? Could there still be a merger?
So look, I'm close to Ben. When Reform tried to politically assassinate me, which I have to say they failed in, but it was a pretty vile and unchristian piece of behavior. Ben and I did meet with our teams, and we tried to find a way forward. And as you know, I wanted a movement.
Yes. I
didn't want a party at that time. Ben initially agreed that he'd go with the movement, and then when we were ready to go for a party, which would happen last Friday, he would then join in. However, Ben decided to go and set up Advance UK with its college and with the structure he wanted. Meanwhile, I went and set up Restore Britain and did it a different way. So we've both now got our own members, we've got our own structures, we've got our own teams, and it's not easy then to find a solution that's fair to everybody in terms of merging the two. And as you find with all mergers, who merges with who emerges as the dominant party, and you end up getting all sorts of complications. So at the moment, the situation is we are allies. I thought Ben was very supportive yesterday after Farage made all those ridiculous comments, and I'm grateful to him for that. But I think there are issues of structure, there are issues of membership, there are various philosophical issues, which mean I think at the moment we've got to both keep ploughing our own furrow. As I say, mergers have to be handled very carefully. The analogy I use, Dan, is as a farmer, if you get a pen of bullocks which are being fattened on barley or silage or whatever, they have a few fights to start with and they work out who's boss. if you start throwing in new bullocks, you end up with a whole load of new fighting if you're not careful. And I saw it in football. You can upset a changing room if you start bringing in too many new people, particularly if those new people think that they are either better footballers or more intelligent or more able or have more weight, whatever. So you've got to handle mergers very, very correctly. But I think there's no reason why people on the right can't continue to do their own thing. The time to start talking about merger is before the next election. And that ultimately will tell you. So what we've got to do is garner all the votes we can collectively, and then put those votes, or put that support of the British people, because in the end, it's the British people who count, put their support together and try and then become the agents for change, which is so necessary. And I personally think everybody's got to keep cracking on and not getting too vexed about whether or not you have a sort of formal merger. We all share the same views, and we all provide, if you like, an option for the British people. That doesn't stop us all supporting each other when we get to the election. And depending on how many votes we all get, depends on how that cake is cut up. So look, I don't subscribe to the view that we all have to be at one on now. And I think we've all got to respect the electorate. They are the ones with the wisdom. It's not for us to tell them how to vote. We've got to persuade them that what we offer is what they want.
Well, it is a big 3 years ahead. Congratulations on 70,000 members. That was the big announcement from Rupert Lowe today, leader of Restore Britain, now a national political party. Rupert.
So that was that. So I wanted to make that quite clear about Rupert's position on this. So we've had Ben. So you're not telling me that Ben Habib has not seen that. You're not telling me that he's not seen that. Now he's claiming that there's been no interaction between Rupert and himself, and I think this is down to the college. I think the college has upset the balance. People are saying there's not been a falling out, but I think Rupert may be keeping Ben Habib at arm's length. Given his outburst yesterday, given the outburst from his college a few weeks ago in a live stream, he's keeping them at arm's length. He thinks they're volatile, but there's something else that's happened. So I'm not going to cover both videos, but please go to this guy's channel. I'm going to share his channel in a minute. I'll share it now. Go and give him subscribe and give him some support, because he needs it. So I'll go to this one here, right, and share it now. So it's this guy here, Climate Realism by Paul Burgess. Go subscribe to him. I'm already subscribed. I've shared this video. I'm using this video under fair use. So it states here, this video explores the wider implications of Ben Habib's recent smear tactics on myself. Should you not want to listen to the background, then below the video is a link to that. Will take it straight to the smear itself. So we need to cover the background. We need to cover all of this. It may be a long live stream. I apologize, but we need to go into this because I've been accused of several things by certain prominent members within the college, and whereas they come with misinformation and smears and scared of criticism, I just come with evidence and facts to shine a light on the advanced college's activities. You know, that's what I do. I don't need to go out and smear people or call them names or stuff like that. I just go out there and show the evidence and prove what I'm saying. That's what I do. And that's what this channel is about. So we'll go and look at what he's going to say.
I'm going to be honest with you all. this is somewhat a difficult video for me to make. You see, what happened recently was Ben Habib was on a podcast on YouTube, and he smeared me. He literally smeared me with almost every word being untrue. And I was very, very angry. So I texted him and asked for an apology, and all he did was block me. So I'm now blocked, right?
So just to make it clear, this guy was actually in the College of Advanced UK. Just to make that clear, because I don't think he said that he was in the college.
But it's not just about me, this. It's not just about putting right the smear about me. And it's actually got wider issues. And it almost extends back to the COVID era, if you like, and the brave work of Andrew Bridgen. So, first of all, I thought, well, shall I just let it all go? But I'm a fighter. And I suppose, as I said in my last video, if you try to go against anything I've said in that video, I'll come back with evidence. So first of all, I'm going to go through a few things to do with what's the background is to this, and then we'll get on with the show. But it is not just about the smear about me. It's about some fundamentals, really, in politics. And that's to do with the ivory towers, the universities, the academia, the lack of knowledge, technical knowledge within politicians, which seems to extend right into advance, by the way, and the issues that thereby arise. So I'm making this into a wider thing than just responding to the total lies about me. And so we'll start it now on that basis. So, welcome to another video. During the COVID era with Andrew Bridgen, I've got memories of him standing up in Parliament on an empty chamber, practically, hardly anyone there, standing up, sticking up for children, like we can't be injecting our 6-month babies.
Right, thumbs up if everybody's okay with watching the whole of this. I will stop it at certain points and critique certain issues and put my own opinions in. But are you okay with watching? Put a thumbs up in the chat if you're okay with watching the whole thing.
With a properly untested COVID vaccine, because that's the sort of thing Andrew was fighting. And he stood there alone. And he was giving scientific evidence. That's what he was giving. He was stabbed in the back. He was completely rejected by the Conservatives, completely rejected by Parliament. And one starts to wonder, you know, how is it that Parliament can be so technically, so scientifically, if you like, or anything really, out of touch with reality? But they are. They're not self-questioning people. They're not MPs that independently think for themselves. No, none of that. You know, and it always amazes me that they can just ignore evidence. And it's so bad, they can't even understand the basic language. Now, of course, one huge example of this is net zero. I mean, net zero itself, you know, they're lying their heads off at the moment. They're telling you that gas is £118 a megawatt hour, and it's actually more expensive than wind. But that's only because they more than double the price with taxes, with carbon taxes. The gas is actually £55 a megawatt hour and much cheaper than any renewable in many, many ways. And of course, when they quote the renewable price, they miss out all the extra costs that are involved, such as constraint payments, inertia, need for inertia in the system to stop a Spanish-type blackout, and so on. There's many things. I cover them in my videos. But the lies keep continuing. Yeah, they keep continuing, you know, because the government, the civil servants, the whole blob is behind the lie. So I'm used to that. I've made almost 300 videos now fighting this. Now, in my videos, I have a few types, and one type is scientific, where I go into the climate. And I have never, just for the record, I have never, ever stated that there is no increase in temperatures, no man-made influence on the planet. So much so that in my recent work, I actually have accounted for it. My recent work, which actually explains all the last 42 years annual world temperatures, that is completely explained by my work, and that has a 25% contribution from CO2. So the rest is coming from the sun and from ocean upwelling of warm and cold ocean patches, if you like. And so that's number one. I have never, ever denied that. But ignorance amongst politicians can be so high that they don't even understand the language. And I think that's part of the problem with the smear against me, as it were. Yeah. Well, another part of the problem is that politicians don't care. They don't care. Well, a number of them don't, not all, but a lot of them don't care about you, the consumer. They don't care about you, the citizen. Yeah. And it's with that in mind that I'm going to explain a few things. So I'm going to first look at academia. Yeah. Now we need academia. Now I chose, after I've done my master's, not to go into academia because I found it such a petty little confined world.
This is what it looks like when you say yes to TUI. To flying when it suits you, with TUI or a partner airline.
Well, let me say from the outset, I think academia is essential to our society. And by all means, if we take the first type, which is the scientific side, meaning research into science that then gets applied in technology, and don't forget technology is just an application of science, that's great. And often areas like that combined with industry and a pioneering, totally in support of that. And then, of course, you have all sorts of the arts. You have the arts.
Right, guys, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip forward to the actual smear. If you want to watch this, I will leave a link to it in the, or indeed just go subscribe to the guy's channel. Just go and subscribe to his channel. That'd be the best bet. I'll leave a link to it in my community section. But, you know, to hurry things along, I mean, it's a fantastic video. I've already watched it myself. But I think for time's sake, let's jump ahead to the actual smear, I think.
An academic called Craig. Here he is. Perfectly reasonable chap. Okay, here's the first one. Here's a member of the college. He works at Cambridge University and actually studies extraterrestrial life, if you like, throughout the universe. And his paper was in that subject. That's what he's involved in. What's his position? Well, it's here. It's a junior research fellow. That is his position. Why am I making this so clear? It's because later he gets promoted tremendously, all the way up to a professor. He entered the college and joined what was called the energy group, but he seems to have been involved in setting up the energy group with another character, and that other character is here. Now his name is David Rhodes, and he is in the Advance UK party, and he's head of policy, if you like, and he sits on the board with Ben Habib, and was appointed by Ben Habib. And he sees his job as guiding all the policies within the college, but he is a college member as well. So, but he is also the chair of every single policy group, yeah? And he controls it to a very strict routine, which really limits speech, actually. So
do you remember the other day when Ben Habib was calling Rupert Lowe out, saying that his party, he was basically a dictator of his party, and yet his own college acts in that way? They stifle free speech. They don't allow people to have the speech that they want to do. They're not allowed to speak on certain issues. And Ben Habib was levying that accusation at Rupert Lowe, saying your party isn't democratic. It seems that Ben Habib's party isn't democratic either. And this college seems to be the very thing that Ben Habib was talking about with Rupert Lowe. You know, it's all right talking about one person as a dictatorship. It seems the college is the dictatorship within Advanced UK.
problem for me, but I was coping with it. But the trouble is, these two characters were joined by my third character, which is Ben Habib. I needn't introduce him. He's head of the Advance UK party. Now, it seems that these three characters got together before I got involved at all, even though I was right at the beginning in the college, and discussed how to control what they call the energy group. So the first surprise for me was it was called an energy group. That showed a misunderstanding to me, because I think it should have been called net zero so we could get rid of the full width of net zero effects. For example, the fact you have to lay aside up to 20% of your farm for forestry and other things in Wales is because of the net zero policies, but it's not energy. And so I was quite surprised they were confining it, but it had been pre-decided. At this point, it's worth pointing out the collective understanding and experience in climate and net zero work. Craig had claimed that that's his field, sort of thing, because he's in the department called Earth Sciences. But his studies are about aliens, basically, and without belittling it, aliens could be bacteria, could be anything that's alive right throughout anywhere in the universe. But he did claim he knows the people, he associates with people who write papers for the IPCC. Well, I could claim I live next door to a Formula One driver, but it doesn't enable me to drive Formula One cars any faster. But he did sort of I don't know, he sort of indicated that. I think David Rhodes knows very little about the subject, except he wants to get rid of it. He sees the damage, and that's pretty well the case with Ben Habib. So their collective understanding of this subject is limited. But without discussion with me, without any reference to me, they decided I was going to be a problem and to box me in right from the outset. So how did that start? Well, it started with Craig, who I think had secretly been appointed leader of the group, not telling anyone, of course. So when I raised this point about basically the Trump point, i.e. calling CO2 is not a pollutant, which is fundamental, by the way, for lots of things later on in the work, the reaction was his famous text. So coming from a fellow college member, Craig states, "You are free to make that argument if you want, but it won't be policy." Shuttered by that, I answer, how can you claim?
So there's no discussion. There's no debate about the facts, about what he's proposing. It's just completely shut down straight away. He just states, you're free to make the argument if you want, but it won't be policy. So what's the point in having a college? I thought the idea of having Advance UK's college was for them to develop policy democratically. This is what Ben Habib is constantly banging about, democracy and, a free exchange, debate. He's always talking about free speech, but that doesn't seem to be what's happening here, does it? It's that exact opposite. Now, he talks about dictatorships, but this is actually a dictatorship. If you are not allowed to talk freely about the subjects you want to talk about, that's a dictatorship. If you can't suggest policy as a member of the college, then what's the point in being a member of the college if it's already been decided by the people at the top? It's just for show, isn't it? It's just to say, we've got a college, we're democratic. But when you really look at the inside, it's not really, is it? This is something that Nigel Farage would do. I'm the top of the party, I decide what goes, sort of thing, isn't it?
Now, Craig, are you in charge that you say this won't be policy or that won't be policy? I thought we were a group here to determine policy. So, getting nowhere, not being able to discuss it in the group in any sensible way, not getting answers to all my questions or anything, I appealed to Ben Habib. So on this question of declaring that CO2 is not a pollutant, I wrote to Ben, and this puts us in handcuffs. It's like getting into a boxing ring with a pair of handcuffs on, and we'd be playing the alarmist on the alarmist lawn, as it were, or the alarmist ring. It blocks so many possible policy directions without, and I was going on to explain. He wrote back, by all means argue, if that's the way you like, Paul. I'm not being prescriptive. Just stay away from climate. Personal preference. Then he said, when we get...
So we've got an actual climate expert, right? And Ben Habib is telling him to stay away from climate. So what's the point in being in the college if you're not going to listen to his suggestions on policy regarding climate? What's the point in that? Wow.
get to policy, we'll have a party line. Well, I didn't understand him. I was confused. But what they're saying is, don't deal with the CO2 issue. And that is where it was left. And
I'm just going to take a look at some of the comments, right? So, how you doing, mate? Doing really well, thank you. Yeah, the thing is, right, why didn't the men, you know, he's constantly going banging on about democracy and how do you choose the leadership? Well, Ben, how was, like this person saying here, how was Nick Buckley chosen? I'm not saying that Nick Buckley wouldn't be a great MP. He most likely would be. Well, that's beside the point. If you're going to bang on about democracy, then surely you should have put it to your membership to decide if he should be put up as a candidate for Advanced UK. Surely, if you really believe in democracy, that would be the case. So, as far as I'm concerned, Ben Habib can't say anything about Rupert Lowe regarding democracy because he's completely ignoring it himself. It's hypocritical. I have to ask again, why is someone studying alien life forms at the Uni of Italy in a college determining political policy in the UK? Are they expecting invasion of Alpha Centauri? Oh, yeah. CO2 is an essential part of the atmosphere. Historically, it has been much higher than it has now. Yeah, it has. And life thrived. Life thrived. But we'll carry on. I have to keep stopping and starting because I'm doing it for fair use. Because even though I think this guy would be pretty cool when we sharing his video, I've not asked permission. So just to be sure, I'm just going to do stop and start it a little bit and do some commentary on it.
at this point, I decided that none of them knew what they were talking about. But I'd stick with it because it's just ignorance. At this stage, I appealed to the college WhatsApp group. That's the only place where all the college members can see what's going on, to see if I could get any understanding there. And immediately, I was stamped on in public, if you like, inside the group. No, you can't do that, Paul. You know, and it was Ben Habib stamping on me. I didn't know what was going on. And I thought, well, you know, do I resign here? There's no free speech. The college is being controlled. I didn't realize how much it was going to be controlled in the future, mind you. But the college is being controlled, and this is not a free-thinking organization.
I can turn your wildest ideas into a song. Just describe it in a few words, choose a style, and let Mareka V 8.
Right.
Now there is.
I'm going to address this comment by Mystic Media. If you haven't already subscribed to Mystic Media, go and do it. They cover all the protests all over the country. I've met them a few times. Really great people. Go and subscribe to them. Awesome people. So I'm gonna. No question. What happened to the members voting on the college members? Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Because if you want democracy, then surely you would come up with a short list of college members, of people you want to be in the college, and then you put it to the members to vote on. That's how I would have done things. So that you know from the bottom to the top, there has been democracy. Well, that didn't happen. And this is the hypocrisy of Ben Habib when he talks about democracy, because his own party is democratic. The members haven't had a say. The college seems to control everything and is dictatorial. That's the message that I'm getting from everybody that has been in contact with me, because there have been people in contact with me about this. Some whistleblowers that aren't prepared to go on record because they don't want the same smears that this guy has had. But I have had a few people get in touch after yesterday's live stream about things. So, yeah. Good question, Mystic Media. I think that's something everybody would like to know.
A WhatsApp group just for the energy group. And some ideas were being put forward there by Craig and others. And I was having to slam them down because they were naive. And showing a lack of understanding. So I decided to post in a video. I made a video explaining what the problem is, because the problem isn't what people think from the Daily Mail or the Express or the Telegraph. It is actually a bit deeper than they think. And so I did a paper on it, which looked forward 10 years, and I did no comment back. I did a video, no comment back at all, nothing. It was like a black hole I was putting things into. Yeah, things were going to happen their way or no way, right? And I thought, well, let's carry on, let's knuckle down. I almost left at this point, by the way. But no, I thought, eventually we've got to get somewhere. Yeah, we got to get somewhere. So I knuckled down. So that is, I did not leave anything to do with that. And the only thing I raised in the two Zoom meetings we had as a group, when we discussed things, that's the only time we openly discuss things, I raised in both of them, we should rename the group Net Zero. And only because I want the width of its application. And net zero to me is an engineering and environmental thing. It's not the climate thing. And they obviously must have understood this, but I wasn't allowed to discuss it. No, Paul, we're not going to discuss that. That's gone. We're not here to discuss that. Stop it. So I was being treated quite rudely in my world, being boxed in. And I thought, well, eventually, the chicken's going to come home to roost as we discuss policies. By the way, the actual policies themselves, we never got down to while I was in it. But I did know there was a lot of ignorance around, and I had to stay in there to put it right at the end. That was the situation.
Right, I want to cover this, right, because if you remember from Ben Habib's video the other day when he was calling out Rupert Lowe, he was saying, you've got no constitution, you've got no policy on this, you've got no policy on that. Well, from what this guy is saying, they haven't got a clue what they're talking about either. It seems this college just sits on its thumb and swivels. That's what he's making out. So why all the anger aimed at Rupert Lowe when Ben Habib knows full well that his own college is more or less useless because he's got all these experts in there that aren't allowed to be experts on anything. They're just told to shut up and just. Do you think he pulled all these people in to make the college look good, to make it look impressive on paper? Because that's what I'm starting to think. Apparently, Tom knows him. Tom 00 News. If you haven't subscribed to Tom 00 News, go and subscribe to him as well. He's an awesome YouTuber as well. There's a lot of live streams. Go and give him some support. Boost his confidence. Get him doing live streams again. He's awesome. Right, we'll carry on.
I did not leave anything to do with that. Not at all. I left simply because in the main college WAG, I asked the two questions. Why aren't we being told about the immigration policy before it's public when there was policy to do that had already been declared by David Rhodes within the group? And that was changed. We weren't being told. And I said, well, there may be a good reason for this, I wrote, but why is it so secret? Can someone explain? And by the way, Craig, because he made a comment, are you a member of this group? So I know in a world where they weren't telling me, they knew the answers, but they weren't answering me. And Craig wouldn't answer me whether he was a member of the immigration group or not. I did suggest then that maybe it's a good idea for all the college members to know who's in what group. And there's only 3 or 4 groups, policy groups. It'd be a good idea to know which ones. So, for example, on the immigration, you might have a thought and you'd like to contact someone in the group. Have you considered this? Or, just free discussion. No. So it really was getting bad when I realized Craig was a member of the group and was being secret. And I was being sort of, let's box Paul in and so on. That's all I did. I asked questions and made those statements. And what happened?
Just going to answer this comment. So he's made a video saying that he wants nothing to do with political parties ever again. It's put him off. His time with Advanced UK has put him off doing anything for political parties, which you can't blame him for. We're going to get into how they treated him in a bit, but it's put him off. He's on his channel. He's writing policies for anybody to use. So anybody can come to his channel, take his policies and use them. That's what he's saying. So earlier I had a comment up here from somebody we'll touch upon this comment because I need to touch this, right? So I don't know who this person is, but they said this. A collage is a picture made up of various media stuck onto the backing of some sort. Sorry, couldn't resist being facetious. Collage is what it is. That said, I'm worried that Paul Burgess is just being bitter. Okay. Then they go on to say this. I agree with Mr. Burgess on CO2, however, but damaging Advance UK as well now isn't helping. He should go to the college members, such as Paul Thorpe in private, and Paul Thorpe doesn't come over as a dictator. Right, okay. So that was a comment from earlier. You can take that as you want. I don't know who that's from, but there you go.
Happened, wham, I got stopped by Floss, and immediately after that, Ben came in, stopped the whole wag. No one's allowed to make comments. Paul's broken the Constitution. After that, I left. I left immediately. So Ben Habib knows why I left. I left immediately, still a member. But when later on, another member tried to get an economic strategy group going and asked that I be the advisor, which Ben Habib agreed to readily. And I told this member, there's no way they'll leave you alone in this because they're going to control you. And in come David Rhodes. No, I've got to be chairman of it and you've got to do it this way and so on. To say in Advance UK there's an independent college is laughable. Totally laughable. Okay. And there's only about 18 people as I know of in it. There's only 18 or so, 17 images up there. And I know another one's left since I left. So there's no structure there to inherit, by the way, to merge with anyone. There's nothing left. The Advance UK is a pure exercise in hypocrisy. Now, at the time I left, there was a lot of things going on with other people, in particular in Wales, and the way the Welsh leader and his assistant was being treated was terrible, absolutely deplorable. So,
right, so there is another video on that. There is another video on that, and I will post that other video that he did on the Welsh situation to my community section once this live stream is finished. I don't think we've got time to cover it today. If we get time at some other point, I'll cover it again, but we haven't got time today just covering this one. But go and watch it. It's very, very interesting. I think I've already posted it actually. I think it's already on my community section, so go and watch it.
there were dirty tricks going on, if you like, in the background. And I knew this, and I knew also about back office staff having to leave and so on. So I was one of a number of people leaving because of the terrible, terrible way the party was being run. It was being run, and this is amazing for what Ben has said about Rupert Lowe. It was being run like a dictatorship, but done with a bit of a soft glove to look okay. That's the best way I can describe it. So now I'm going to get down to it. This is the Ben Habib podcast, what he had to say about me. This is what was said about me, done, as always, with a nice velvet glove, a nice soft touch to begin, and then the big but, and then a pack of lies. So watch it.
Apparently you can go from 0 to a complete site in just a single prompt with Wix Harmony. I don't know if this is going to be possible or Vibe.
Has Ben seen Paul Burgess' video reference leaving advanced Ben views and Paul's comments on the pod?
Yeah, I love Paul to bits. He's a really lovely man, and I've got no issues with Paul. But Paul is on a mission to prove, entirely rightly perhaps from his own personal perspective, he's on a mission to prove that there's no such thing as man-made climate change.
That is totally untrue. Even the paper I recently handed in to the Energy Group and Craig explains that 25% of the warming is due to the extra CO2, and of which about that, I'll tell you about 22% of is due to mankind. I've always maintained that there is global warming due to mankind. It's just the amount of it and the effect of it long term. So that is totally untrue. But more importantly, Ben is the one who knows why I resigned. It's when he stepped in and said, basically, I was breaching the Constitution by simply asking questions in the college WAG. That's it. He knows this. My resignation happened within a minute of him doing that. It wasn't to do with this. So this is totally a red herring, and it's untrue. I have never claimed these things. I start off by saying CO2 is a very, very effective greenhouse gas, but its effect is diminishing and diminishing. That's what I say. So this is not true. So what they're doing is, instead of answering why I resigned, which they can't get round, it was restricting the freedom of speech in the college and controlling the college, they put this pack of lies together. Here we go.
And that's fine. I'm perfectly accepting of his view. But for a political party, we're less interested in what, whether or not man-made climate change exists. We're more interested in the policy, the energy policy we need in order to deliver the country to prosperity.
Anyone who knows my work, almost 300 videos, knows I cover the engineering side, the net zero side, the energy side, and many other sides, everything from restrictions on commercial properties right the way through to farming. I do the whole width, and that's what I mean by net zero. So this is just total fabrication by Ben Habib, total fabrication. I know where it comes from. It seems to have come from Craig and David Rose. Because they don't know enough to even know the terminology when I'm talking. It's as bad as that. And Craig, I'm afraid, is one of those people who doesn't know enough to know what he doesn't know. And that became very apparent in the WAG that we had alongside the energy group when some silly ideas were coming forward and I was having to kill them. So
Right, just to touch on something else, because this is something that Paul Thorpe and Richard Inman have touched upon, right? So they're actually, this is completely off topic, but I need to cover it. They touched upon, first off, I'll give you my position on these things, right? I believe that both kosher slaughter and halal slaughter should be banned in this country. We shouldn't have any of those practices in this country. I don't care about the religious aspect of it. I don't care at all. We care about the welfare of our animals in this country. And I think it's barbaric that an animal should have its throat slit to be slaughtered, where it suffers in pain until it slowly bleeds to death. So I'm completely against all of that. I'm against religious courts in this country, both Jewish and Muslim. We shouldn't have any Jewish courts in this country. English law should be supreme. That's the way I look upon these things. If anybody has an issue with that, then they should just leave the country. Because we have our own set of values here, we have our own laws, and you need to come here and you need to abide by them. If you can't do that, then the door is open, leave the country and go to a country where you can practice those things. That's just my honest opinion. Now, it appears that Richard Inman has an issue with kosher slaughter. He says if we ban kosher slaughter, then all the Jewish people will leave. Well, if they have an issue with our laws in this country, let them go. Just let them go. I've got no issues with that whatsoever. I don't care about their religious practices. It's barbaric. If you're going to say it's barbaric for the Muslim community to slaughter animals that way and have no issues with them leaving the country, it's hypocrisy. Because they're carrying out the same practices. That's just my thoughts on that. I don't give a toss about religious practices. All I care about is animal welfare and the fact that animals are slaughtered humanely and without any pain. That's all I care about. People have an issue with that. They can go. Just clearing that up. Just wanted to clear that up.
I just find this incredible that this man, Ben Habib, can do this smear on me without any element of truth in the entire thing. But it gets worse.
And we kept wanting to just do the energy policy, and Paul kept wanting to go back to the debate about whether or not there was man-made climate change.
Pay with Klarna everywhere. One card, 2 ways to pay. Sign up now.
Step aboard the world's most luxurious fleet.
100% untrue. In the two Zoom meetings we had as an energy group. In each one, I suggested we change the name of the energy to net zero to cover the width of the subjects, as I've explained already. They were taking that to mean the climate, I think. I actually put down, all I want to do is the same as Trump has done, right? But that was early on. That was early on when I almost resigned, when I was told my ideas will never make it to policy before we even discuss the issue, right? So this is totally, it's such an incredible travesty of the truth. You know, can it get worse? It will now.
And there was a slight issue there. And we have in our college a guy called Craig Walton, who is a professor and for things, amongst other things, climate change at Cambridge University.
So now we enter delusion world. Craig, the junior research assistant in alien life, if you like, throughout the universe, junior research assistant, who hasn't got any qualifications in climate or anything, has suddenly become way up to a professor that, amongst other things, is climate. And what had happened is, early on, before I even got anywhere near the college, they decided with Craig and Ben, you know, how they were going to restrict me, because they had these ideas, because they hadn't bothered to look at what I teach and my videos and what I do. They hadn't simply bothered. But Craig was insisting that he was the leader and so on. And you saw that in the text. That was the problem, right? That was the issue. So to claim he's a professor, what Ben is really doing there is a bit sly, isn't it? It's putting me, because I'm not a gangster professor from Cambridge in climate. Who's not that? He's not even a senior research assistant. He's a junior. And he's only just been, quite recently, appointed a junior research assistant. So this exposes the way they smear you. And it isn't just me they smear when people leave. They smear other people. Now, it's not for me to expose that. But believe me, some other people seem to be being smeared more by far than I'm being smeared. Much more. Yeah. And this is the tactics. And yet Ben himself suffered when he left Reform from smears. So did Rupert. As you know, Rupert suffered a lot. And Ben makes statements like this. There's a recent statement by Ben on X. The political class has lied and deceived. Any party wishing to save the country must be honest with the people. The ends do not justify false means. The means themselves must be honest. So there we are, engaging in dirty smear tactics when Ben totally knew why I resigned. It was immediately after he stopped me asking questions on the college WhatsApp group. Immediately after that. I was not raising and challenging the climate issue like he states. I simply asked for a name change of the group once.
So I'm going to stop that there. So if you want to watch the rest of it, I'll leave the link to this in the actual underbar. Well, not in the bar. I'll leave it in the community section of my video after the live stream if you want to go and watch it in its entirety. I say to everybody, go and actually go and subscribe to the guy, give him your support. He needs all the support he can get. I'll look at some of the comments. I kind of still support Ben until he released that video referring to Rupert as a dictator. What the thing is, though, he's basically everything that he called Rupert, isn't he? From that, and that you know, somebody said earlier that he's just Paul Burgess is bitter. He's not bitter. I doubt he would have even made a video if they hadn't tried to smear him. I think he would have just moved on. He just made a statement like, "Yeah, I've left Advance UK," and he would have moved on. But the man has a right to defend his honour and a right to come out and critique anybody that is lying about him. Which it seems that everybody in Advance UK has an issue with. They don't like being criticised on stuff that they're saying that is quite clearly untrue and that are lies and is misinformation. How are they any better than the mainstream parties if they're going to do that? If they can do that to their own college members, then what can they do to the electorate? Will they lie to the electorate? Of course they will. Will they lie to their members? Of course not. They've already done it. They've already lied to their members. did not find that compelling. Well, actually, that's your option. If you want to refuse to look at evidence, that's up to you. It's one guy who has potentially a reason to want to make stuff up. Okay, that's your take. But why? What motive has he got? What motive has he got to do that? Yeah. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if yep. Right, hope is Tom still out there? Are you still out there, Tom? If you are, I'll drop the link in the usual place on X, mate, so you can come on in. I'm not going to drop it in the chat. Not yet. I'll drop it in the chat later. But if you're out there, I'm going to drop the link in the usual place, buddy, so you can come on in if you want to. Okay? Do that. I'll drop Tom the link and see if he wants to come in. So I think he'll have something to say about what's been going on here. I'll drop the link on DMs on X, Tom. So if you want to come in, mate, the link to come in is on X. All right. Actually, we'll just have a look at this guy's channel. I'll just show you his channel so you can go and see what it actually is. Click on it, and I'll share the screen again just to show you his channel so you know what to look out for. It's only fair since I've used his video. So this is channel Climate Change Realism by Paul Burgess. This is his channel right here. If I can post it, I'll see if I can post it in the. See if I can post it into the chat. I might be able to. So that's a link to the video. I've just posted it in the chat. If you want to go and watch the video, that's the link. Don't like the Y word. What's the Y word? What is the Y word? Don't like the idea of a non-democratically selected committee who whatsoever. But in context, one guy with an X, with an axe, maybe sounds like he struggled to be heard. Not really. If you actually listen to what he was saying in there, he was being shut down. Everyone even brought the messages. Look at what the guy said to him. He said, you can argue your points, but it won't be policy. There was no debate there. No debate. And this is coming from Ben Habib, who said free speech is essential. But there was no free speech in the college, is there? If you can't raise concerns, you can raise an argument, but they're just saying we're not going to listen to you because it's not going to be policy. So what's the point in raising concerns or raising issues with things if you're not going to be listened to? There's no point, is there? The whole college is unelected. Well, you know, if you've got issues, why don't you go and ask him? He said in the video that if you question his evidence, he'll come with the evidence. So why don't you find out how to contact him, and see if he can verify everything that he said in the video? I'm sure he'll be able to. Maybe go and do that. Sounds like a dictatorship to me. It does to me as well. I don't know if Tom's still around. I don't think he's around. He's not coming yet. So what I'm going to do is I'll drop the link to into the chat. Everyone wants to come in and have a chat for a bit, you're quite welcome to do so. I only want people that have not been in. If you've not been in before, I'm looking for you to come into and have a chat. If you've been in before, sorry, but I'm not considering you. I'm trying to encourage new people to come in to keep it fresh, so it's not an echo chamber. Even people that disagree with me are welcome to come in. I'm okay with that. We know advance is like this anyway. There was a woman at a conference who asked about Jewish funding of DEI and mass immigration. The entire audience heckled her, and Ben and Nick shut her down. It's not a good look, is it? It's not a good look. Should we have a look at the other video, the Welsh video? Should we have a look at that? Thumbs up in the chat if you want to have a look at the Welsh video with how Advance treated the Welsh group in Wales. Because I think we need more corroborating evidence. So people denying that guy's claims. So let's have a look at what happened in Wales. I mean, it's the same guy. He's coming up with the same information, but, you know, let's see what he's going to say. So let's have a look at this.
You can now win this limited edition 75-year anniversary Land Rover Defender.
So I actually thought we ought to understand what the problem is first. And the problem, by the way, as regards the energy sector, is quite vast. And it's the 20-year contracts and how we're going to get out of them and so on. But I was told, what I was told was this. Coming from a chap called Craig inside the group, another member of the group, and a academic in university.
Right, scroll back to find it. Videos. I think it's this one, is it? Is it that one? I think it's this one.
The member of the group, and a academic in university. He said this: you are free to make that argument if you want, but it won't be policy. This particular video very quickly, because it's going to be my last to do with the politics of this subject. And it's first of all about the merger between Restore Britain and Advance UK. And as everyone maybe knows, I was a member of Advance UK, and I'm going to do a few bits on that in this video. But when Restore Britain was announced, Ben Habib of Advance UK did not know about the launch in advance. And obviously there are reasons for that. If there was going to be a merger, he would have known. He then, I think, did a X post that got deleted, but that was followed very quickly by a very appeasing post saying, you know, about the merger and how he's going to consult the college in a few weeks down the road to see, you know, how we're going to merge, etc., which was not on the cards anyway. Just in my world, that was delusional. So I think if anyone's planning on anything, they should understand there's going to be no merger, in my view, between Restore Britain and Advance UK, and nor should there be. And you'll quickly find out in this video why not. So just to get that right out the way, right? Now I'm going to move on to the next subject, which is telling you some of the truths about Advance UK. In my previous video to this, I pointed to a video by Richie and Rogue, who do a podcast, and last night they actually exposed a lot of what went on with them. So I pointed to that. It was for them to speak first, but I was aware of it. I was aware of it when it was going on. And I found it deplorable how they were treated. But just to recap the points, how, the leader of Wales was treated. Yes?
Right, let's deal with this comment, right? I'm coming to this information just as much as you are, right? So I suggest you do your research. After this live stream, after you've watched all this evidence, go to the guy and ask him to provide the evidence that you require. That's what I suggest you do. I don't have access to that evidence because I don't know this man personally. So I'm looking at this evidence as he's presenting it. I'm looking at this with an open mind as much as you have. But I've had multiple people come to me and tell me exactly the same thing that this gentleman is telling me. Yeah? I'm not having a go. I'm just stating facts.
First of all, I couldn't have found, I don't think he could have found a more energetic couple than Richie and Rogue. They tired me out watching them with the energy they put into building the party in Wales. All over Wales, meets and greets, beginning to set up constituencies, beginning to set up the chair, building a proper professional structure for the party in Wales, all with the agreement of Ben Habib. All of that.
Sorry, Stephen,
with the agreement of Ben Habib. Yeah, don't forget, Richie was appointed leader of Wales by Ben Habib. Something he took a few days to really consider before he said yes. Okay, so that couple worked their guts out building this up, and there they were in the middle of Wales, doing on a tour of meet and greets and so on, and bang, the communication network, which is called Nation Builder inside the party, it's a piece of software where was cut off to them. Access was cut off midstream. They explained this last night. Right? They were cut off at the knees. They couldn't even contact the people involved in the next venue and various other things. Yes? So they appealed to people inside the party, the ladies, some very professional ladies who handle these things.
Stefan, later on, mate. I'm just waiting for Tom to come in. I was going to wait for Tom to come in. That's why I'm playing this video. So I will give people an opportunity to come in after... see if Tom's coming, because I want to get his opinion on this. But yeah, I will invite people in. All right, mate.
Things and what's going on. And one of the ladies tried to help them. For that, by the way, she was dismissed. Without any notice, all this, just you're cut off. Yeah? This got worse over time. As a result of that, it wasn't long after that Richie resigned. And then, but there wasn't to stop there. He was still a member of the party. And recently, as a member of the party, all his work that he'd done inside Wales, all the meet and greets, all the photographs with people, all the videos, all the bits and pieces, every single thing deleted. Absolute 1984 sort of style approach. We are going to delete that you existed. Yeah. And the funny part is they actually were setting up a really professional, good setup. But in addition to, having cut them off on the knees in the first place and now having extinguished them in the history of Wales, as it were, in Advanced UK, they'd actually insulted all the people that were involved, not just Richie and Rogue, but all of the people, and there never was, although there were attempts made to meet Ben, there never were meetings actually happened. Yes? Advanced UK treat people terribly, and that applies to some of the back office staff who I know about and were very, very professional, and I won't say any more than that.
Right, so if you go to this guy's video, he'll have links to their video, and I think they provide evidence. All right, I know evidence is important. I'm not faulting you for asking for evidence. Everybody should always ask for evidence of everything. I'm not faulting you for that. All I'm saying is that I don't have access to it. Yeah.
About about it because, again, that's their story. And some people obviously don't want to go on about it. They've been burned. They want to get out of it. They just want to escape from the total mess that Advance UK is. Yeah, and so that's what was happening. Now, if you can't treat your own people in any other than this terrible way in which they've been treated, I'm sorry, you're not fit to govern the nation. So that was going on before I go to the next stage of explanation I'm going to explain to you, which is what happened to me. Yeah, so I actually couldn't praise Richie and Rogue more for their work in Wales. And I'm sorry, it isn't to do with Wales to me, this. It's to do with the treatment of human beings, the way they were treated, the way they were cut off, because there's all power mongering going on, or all lack of transparency, lack of communication. And it's done intentionally. Don't think it's not. You can't act this way. When confronted, people simply lied. Yeah, that was the situation. That was the situation before I resigned. I knew what was going on. Part of that happened after I resigned, but part of it was happening before I resigned. So let's now come to my resignation.
So what do you all think to that? What's your opinions on this? Because I know multiple people. You see, there's multiple sources now. It's not just this guy saying it. I mean, does this guy come across to you as bitter or with an axe to grind? Doesn't to me. Doesn't to me at all. He seems calm, he seems collected, and he's just presenting the evidence in a logical, scientific way, in my opinion. That's what I'm getting from this. And you have to ask, what would his motive be? He doesn't have a motive. He resigned. He wasn't kicked out. He resigned. He left of his own accord. So, yeah, that's my impression so far.
But to do that, I first of all have to explain what the college is inside Advance UK, because it is not what you've been told. It is not what they set out to be. It is not what it's in the Constitution. And I'll point it out now. Now, I have evidence for all this, of course. Everything I'm going to say on this, coming up in this next section, I have evidence for. I'm not going to give you all the evidence. I don't need to. But if anyone in Advance UK wants to challenge me, I'll produce the evidence to back it up.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Did the person who came in the chat before, did you hear that? Right? I hope you're still here. Did you hear that? He said he'll provide all the evidence. So what you have to do is get in contact with this guy. I'm sure that he's got all the links and all the stuff under his video and stuff like that. I'm sure he'll provide you with the evidence if you wish to have the evidence. He just said it himself. Okay?
Okay, so now let's look at the college inside Advance UK.
Bike sold. Laptop sold. It's free and easy to sell on eBay.
Keep your hair in the game with L'Oreal Paris LV Growth Booster,
yeah,
the official shampoo of Arsenal.
I've got nowhere anymore.
Now, the college is meant to be an independent group of people inside Advance UK that can even actually have the power to sack the leader, Ben Habib. He made a big play on that. It was independent think tank that had to come up with embryo policies. It had to develop policies, be the birthplace of policies that, yes, had to go to the board. And obviously, they might not be the final policies. Obviously, they have to be balanced. That's up to the board. Absolutely clear. No argument. Right? So I was invited into what was called the Energy Group. Now, it puzzled me at first because I thought I was going to be discussing things with other college members about what policies we develop and so on. But never mind, there was a group called the Energy Group set up. And in that, it had, the chair was David Rhodes. And by the way, David Rhodes is the chair of every single policy group, every single one. Yes, and he sits as an executive. He's a college member and sits on the executive. And he actually, literally, before we got the groups going, came up with a sort of structure. I wasn't keen on it, but it didn't matter. And I asked him at that time, when a group develops a policy, it's a good idea to give it out to the rest of the college members, you know, to say what you think of this. So a perfect example would be a recent announcement was all official stuff has to be in English. Had they put that out, someone may have pointed out, well, we do have other countries, and Wales, for example, you know, you can't stop a document being in Welsh as well. So I mean, little things like that could have been adjusted. But the policy, he, at my suggestion, was put out. Yeah, we will put it out to other things. So the first. So I want to make that clear. So there I am. I joined the energy group. I really wanted it called the Net Zero group because the policy I thought should be to get rid of entire net zero. It doesn't matter whether you're feeding chemicals to cows or farming. It doesn't matter whether it's certificates for factories and all this. So I actually thought we ought to understand what the problem is first. And the problem, by the way, as regards the energy sector, is quite vast. And it's the 20-year contracts and how we're going to get out of them and so on. But I thought we should define the problem first. But oh no, we had to follow David Rhodes' particular structure. Fine, I give in to that. Okay, compliant. But I couldn't discuss why it should be net zero. So what I suggest as a founding principle was that whilst almost 90% of the policies are going to be about net zero and stopping it, we should accept right at the beginning that just like Trump has done in this last week in America, we should accept that CO2 is not a pollutant. Right, that's a starting point. And the reason for that is down the road, to get rid of all the carbon taxes, to get rid of all sorts of things, you've got to see that is the case. Yes? And what I was told was this. Coming from a chap called Craig inside the group, another member of the group, and a academic in university, he said this: you are free to make that argument if you want, but it won't be policy. I'll repeat that. You are free to make that argument if you want, but it won't be policy. Well, first of all, who are you, Craig, to tell me it won't be policy? And as it turned out, I think he'd secretly been appointed the sort of leader of the group. So I said, are you a leader here? What's going on? And if you are, I thought we were here to determine policy. Yes? So I was actually shattered by this. What's going on? I never got the answer to, are you a leader? I believe today he was. And it wouldn't have caused me any problem if he was, by the way, because all that matters in the end of the day when you discuss things is the right policy, is the discussion, is the argument, if you like. And I was quite shattered by that. In fact, because I wasn't getting any proper responses as to this, I went off to Ben. I went off actually to the main college. There's a WhatsApp group for the main college. It's the only place where all the college meet. And I tried to post something there about the situation that Trump is doing, and in effect that, you know, we've got to state this about CO2, because it's, if we don't do this, we're going to be fighting on the...
Right, I think we've already been over all this. I'll let you guys watch the rest of that. I think we've already covered this. He seems to be talking about his own situation again. So we'll forget that. Seems like the kind of group dynamic you get in a group chat community. Yeah, but with a difference. I mean, this is a political party. So if you've got somebody who's the head of the group telling that you can't state policy, when that's your reason for being there, or you can make the argument, but it won't be policy, that means they've already made the decision. There's no argument, there's no discussion. You can't raise concerns, and that's not free speech. That's not how a college set up to develop policy should act. It's like they've already been given their scripts. This is what you will do, and you'll stick to it. There's no room for maneuver. There's no free. There's no way to be free and creative and come up with actual policy or give your ideas across, because the guy at the top's already decided that it's not going to be policy. Not a way to. It's not a way to run a college that's supposed to be about developing policy. It doesn't make any sense. Why would you constrain people in such a way so they can't be creative? Doesn't make any sense. it just sounds like it's dictatorial, and the decision's already been made, doesn't it? Yeah, go to his channel, go subscribe to him, and go and find out what he's saying about it. Go and watch it for yourselves. Maybe leave him a comment. Leave him a comment asking for the evidence. That's what I suggest you should do. Anyway, as you know from the beginning of the live stream, I was accused of being hateful. Oh no, apparently I'm not allowed to have free speech. That's what I've been told. Apparently I've just said some nasty things about Paul Thorpe, and well, amongst other things, which I didn't. I didn't really say anything nasty about Paul Thorpe. I haven't said anything nasty about him. The only thing I've done is criticised him on the positions that he holds. And I guess Paul Thorpe is just so thin-skinned that he can't take criticism. Doesn't like criticism. So he does what the lefties always do, right? So when you go and criticise lefties, they won't want to debate you. They won't want to debate. They will just want to shut down the conversation. And they want to smear you so that nobody else wants to have a conversation with you either. So what they'll say is, oh, he's just a troll. He's just a hateful troll. Well, in reality, I'm not. And they won't come to me and ask me my opinion on things. They'll just take the person's word for it. So in reality, Paul Thorpe, Richard Inman, they do exactly the same thing that the far left do. Exactly the same thing. Look at what Richard Inman did in that live stream the other day, when he stated that Rupert Lowe had voted for assisted dying, when in reality he had done no such thing. He had done no such thing. What he had done was Rupert Lowe voted for a debate on assisted dying and then voted against it. That's what really happened. And this is how they twist words. This is how they twist things. And it seems that Ben Habib, allegedly, does the same thing too in the college. He twists things. Now, me personally, and this is my personal opinion, I wouldn't trust Advance UK as far as I could throw them. It seems they have a lot of internal turmoil. It seems that the leadership is basically just like the Reform leadership. They just think they're the top dogs. Nobody else should have any say. And they want total control. That's my impression. That's what I'm getting from all of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw the link out into the chat. And what I'm going to say is I'm only asking for people that have not been in the live stream before. So if you've been here before, I'm not looking at you. I'm trying to encourage other people to come into the live stream and have their say. Mainly people that disagree with me. If somebody wants to disagree with me, fair enough, and we can discuss it civilly and have a debate on it. That's what I'd like. So drop it in the chat and we'll see what happens. Hey, how you doing? The Welsh couple who were setting up their vans told a sad story about how Habib backed out of the Welsh launch party last minute. Some of the local advance volunteers have prepared gifts for Habib. So I've dropped a link in the chat. That's the link to come into the live stream if you want to come and have a chat. Nobody comes in within 10 minutes, then I'm going to call it a night, guys. All right. But I just wanted to put those videos out there for people to see, and to see that what Ben Habib has been accusing Rupert Lowe of. And don't forget, I've got no horse in this race. You know, I'm not a member of any party. I'm not a member of Restore. I'm not a member of Advance. I'm not a member of any party. I'm just an outside observer looking in at what's going on. And sometimes when you're away from it, when you take a step back and you're looking in from afar, you can see things more clearly, what's going on. And just as much as I'm holding Ben Habib to account, I will hold Rupert Lowe to account as well on his word. and what he's going to do. I'm not going to put anybody on a pedestal. That's not my aim at all. But when I see rubbish arguments and misinformation being spread to smear people, and this is what prompted me to do all that stuff yesterday. I said this in the morning walk video this morning, was the fact that Ben Habib was doing exactly the same thing as Reform were doing, and certain members of Advance UK were doing the same thing that Reform was doing by smearing Rupert Lowe and Restore UK as being ethno-nationalist, which was absolute rubbish. And the thing is, Rupert Lowe has had a credible death threat because of what Restore Britain, what Reform said about him, mainly their mayoral candidate for London. She called them a bunch of neo-Nazis. And they've had a credible death threat because of that. And we've all seen what can happen because there are some lunatic people out there, some lunatic lefties out there that will take that as a signal to attack Rupert Lowe. That's what happened to Charlie Kirk. People who should have known better were labeling him as names that put a target on his back. And that's what frustrated me. That's what really made me angry. It's like, it's just rubbish. It's just guilt by association, and it shouldn't be happening. These people should know better. If you want to debate Rupert, have a debate with him, you know, and debate him on the actual facts and policy of his party. But don't make things up about him and try and smear him as something that he's not, because I think that's dishonest. The Welsh couple, yeah. Is that a Voice of Wales then? Is that a Voice of Wales? Is that a couple of Voice of Wales? I don't know. I don't know who they are. Can we confirm that? I'll drop the link in the chat again. Anybody new wants to come in, you're quite welcome to come to and have a chat for a bit. Yes, right, it is. Right, okay. Right, okay. I get what people have been talking about now. So the Voice of Wales couple, they set up the advanced. Wow, that's really bad. See you later, Capricorn. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being in the chat. That's amazing. Right, okay, that's starting to make a lot more sense now. I'm starting to understand where people are coming from. So Voice of Wales basically got snubbed. I saw a little bit about that on X the other day. I didn't really get what was going off, because they were saying that there's no more advanced group in Wales. And they've basically been abandoned then, have they? That's disgusting. Yeah, and I don't condone that for anybody, even if it is Nigel Farage. I disagree with him on everything that he's done with Restore, and I don't like him as a person. But there's no way on earth that I would want any harm to come to him or anything like that. Nobody should face death threats for having the political beliefs that they hold. Nobody. If you disagree with somebody, then you should take them on in open debate. That's the way you deal with things. That's the way that you argue your point, not with violence. Right, I get you. That's shocking.
Hello.
Hi.
I haven't seen what Paul Burgess has actually said or anything, but I get the gist of it. I mean, obviously he's saying Advance is saying the same thing as advance of being a dictatorship. And the way Ben Habib was acting yesterday, I saw the video, and there does seem a little bit odd for him to be, throwing his toys out of the pram, going, well, why haven't you, got...
My theory is, I think he's been badly advised by the college. I think there's people in the college, because to me, it came across that it was Ben Habib mouth moving, but it sounded a lot more like Richard Inman to me speaking. That's what it came across as. Yeah,
a little bit. I mean, a little bit of desperation as well. Sort of like, oh, hang on a minute, I'm in the wrong group here. If you know what I mean, kind of a little bit like that. But the one thing that really sort of struck me was when Rupert made his initial video output, he said this party is not going to have anyone who's been in politics already, anyone who's had any association with it. I don't want them. They have to be brand new. So why Ben Habib would even consider offering to join at that point? I don't know why he did. I mean, he could have just said anything else, but to offer support in the first instant, not support, to want to join up and be, to take his politicians already that he's got, and it just goes totally against what Rupert had actually just said in his initial speech of there'll be zero politicians.
Ben Habib isn't a leader. He would rather be chairman of a political party rather than a leader. And I think he saw how fast Restore was growing, and he realised that they were going to overtake them. They have overtaken them by a fast amount now. They're nearly on 100,000 members. And what are still on 40,000, aren't they? And I think that's the reason why. I think that's why he was so keen to merge with them straight away, because he saw the way the wind was blowing.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the sense. But I had one crazy thought. This is just the opposite thought. Right, just to put it out there. I know this is going to be crazy. You're going to be like, there's no way that's possible. But what if this whole thing is just a little bit like Ben's in on it. He's in on it. He's totally in. He's like, all right, I'll do that. He's set up Advance to take some of the edge off of Reform. Okay, to sort of take a bit of that, and he made it last a bit longer. Kept saying this, that, and made Reform have to point out some of their policies and everything. And this little outburst isn't so much like I actually want to join you, and I'm desperate to join you. It's more of a, oh, let's create some talking points. I mean, I'm going to help Rupert out here by seemingly throwing my toys out the pram. I'm just saying this is a bit. This isn't what I'm thinking. I'm just saying this could be, right? Because it draws away from Reform even more. It shows everything that Rupert was saying, and it puts it up further on a pedestal. I mean, whether Ben Habib meant to do that or not, I'm saying possibly he meant to do it. But everyone else, we're all thinking, no, there's no way he meant to do that. He's clearly just lost his mind and doesn't know, doesn't realise how bad it looks.
What do we know about Ben Habib? He's normally calm and collected. He never does outbursts. He's focused on what he does. And this is completely out of character. It shocked me. It was like, wow. Are you really going there? That's why I thought that he was under some kind of influence from the college. Maybe the college is influencing him in some way, and they've wound him up to a point where he's just had this massive outburst. Because from people that are talking to me, he does have a very short temper, and he conceals it very well. So I have been told that. So
of course, and you can kind of see that he's just like, oh wait, hang on a minute, no, well Rupert, just join me. And then he's like, oh well, Rupert, you haven't joined me, so I don't know, you can't be any good. You can't be any good if you join me. If you won't join up with me.
That was failed troll.
Oh, good. I see. I half ignored it.
I was waiting for that. Actually, I was waiting for it. The thing is, mate, right? They think they're unique, but it's like I've been on here 20 years, seen it all before. I know exactly what they're going to do. It's like you're nothing new. We just 10 a penny. Bye bye.
Oh, what was I saying? Yeah, no, it does seem really out of character for him, which is, you know, and yeah, I can see maybe that does seem more on the right path, that he's had enough people thrown in one ear, and he's just desperate for an answer. You know, like a lovesick girlfriend, like you said. I remember you saying that. I was like, yeah, that is what it is, isn't it?
That's what it came across as. It's like, why the sudden personality shift? Because this isn't like your personality. It's very, very strange. It's like that he went to the college and they said, Ben, you need to be more aggressive. You're not being aggressive enough. You need to be a leader. And then he took that on board, and then he came back, and then, I mean, it could be exactly what you said. It could be control opposition. This could all be a big plan, for all we know. And let's face it, it's politics. Anything's possible. I'm not ruling it out or anything like that, but it's just so out of character. And to be honest with you, it's like you're just damaging your own party. It's made you look an idiot, and it's made a lot of advanced UK members just cancel their membership straight away and say, we're going to restore now. We're not going to put up with this. But it's the fact. I think what really niggles me is that Ben Habib has been calling Rupert out for being undemocratic. When you look at the people within the college, and they're saying, well, it's not democratic either. It's just strange. It's very, very strange what's going on.
Yeah, it's that is a bit odd. Yeah, that he hasn't actually. The members didn't vote the college in. Was it him that made the college?
And the thing is, right, look at his arguments, what he said, right? He said that Restore Britain is undemocratic. Then why did you want to merge with it then? You must have known beforehand that you thought it was undemocratic. So why did you want a merger?
Yeah. Yeah, this is like saying to, you know, I love you, you're the most beautiful girl in the world, and then saying, oh, I didn't want to be with you anyway, you're ugly. It's like, it's that. So what are you doing? Like, either you thought that, or you don't think that. You can't. It's a bit of an odd contradiction.
It is, mate. Right, mate. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to wrap it up, because I've been on here for like an hour and a half now, so I'm going to try and wrap it up.
Nice.
I really appreciate it. Get your point across. This is what I like. I like new people coming in. Are you a subscriber, by the way? Are you a new subscriber?
Yeah, no, I watch all your videos, man. I like watching your walk videos, and I mean, there's one thing. I know you say you're training. But the comment I made yesterday, and I was like, okay, this is actually so, like, because this was a point made by like a CIA reporter person, right? And she was saying they're training every day. They are training every day. In America, they're training with what guns they can get. But in Europe, they're training with knives. And I'm sorry to say that on your live. I hope this doesn't bad. But they're training with what they can get in Europe, and they're doing it every day. So guys, keep yourself fit, and every day keep going, because this is what Vindicator's saying. Like,
really good advice. It's like, hope for the best, but plan for the worst. That's the best advice.
Because I mean, if you saw that the Australian shooting thing, that they weren't using semi-automatics. Those were pop shot rifles. You're not supposed to be able to shoot them rapidly. They were trained. They had trained for months with those guns.
Know what? I said this at the time. They reminded me of ISIS insurgents that I encountered in Iraq, because that's the sort of weaponry they have. They have very basic weapons, but they knew how to use them properly.
Yeah,
Because
they covered each other. They were trained.
Realize, right? These people have probably been training with guns since probably about 5 or 6. They're well trained in weapons, very well trained.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, a good year's training, and you could, every day, every single day. I mean, that's what they're doing. They aren't giving up. So do just be aware, because that's what could happen. I just wanted to say it just because you made that point of training every day. I was like, they are training every day, and in ways we probably don't don't realize. I mean, I don't realize. I mean, I'm not military background, but I saw the Aussie one. Anyway, I'll let you go. I've said it. Cheers, Vindigate.
No problem, mate. Anytime. You're welcome anytime, mate. Thank you for coming in.
See you soon. See you in a bit.
Bye. That was awesome. I like it when people come in and have a chat. Obviously, we had a troll come in. Why did they do that? Why do trolls do that? Oh, I love it. It's been quite an eventful one. So, right, guys, I'm going to call it here. Thanks everybody coming in. We've had 83 people on average watching consistently all the way through this. So I want to thank you all, and I will reiterate, this channel is nothing without you guys. I want to thank everybody for coming, liking, sharing, subscribing my content, watching my videos, giving me comments, giving me feedback. I really appreciate it. So this is Vindicator. Sign off. I shall see you all in the morning walk video tomorrow. See you later, guys. Thanks for coming along.